name is Tiffany, and today I'm going to be walking you through how I do my Milky Way marble name tiles. I'm going to go from this, just a 3x6 subway tile that I got at Home Depot. I think I got a box of 100 for I think $15. So they're really inexpensive, and I really love to use the tiles to try out new techniques. It's more cost effective than a tumbler if I mess up or want to try something new that I'm not sure I'm gonna love. So I really love to do it. So we're gonna be going from this to this. So I'm gonna be going through the whole process step by step, from spray paint and prep to the final layer of epoxy. I'm gonna apologize in advance because the video is a little bit long, but I do, because I'm doing 6 tiles for my employees for Customer Service Appreciation Week. So I do try to fast forward through the repetitious parts, but I hope that you like it. If you wanna skip through some of the parts because it's not what you're looking for, I'm totally good with that. I will never know. And welcome. I'll see you at the end. Okay, so the first thing that I do to prep my tile is I tape off the back. As you can see, the back is really rough. It's unfinished, but I'm going to cover that with felt when we're done. So I take masking tape, whatever you have. I line it up. So that it's right there on the edge. And then take my X-Acto knife and I just kind of run it along the edges so you get a really smooth, clean cut. I don't know if you can see that. And make sure that it's pushed down on the edges, because when we go to put the epoxy on this, if it drips over the edge, while it's still malleable, we'll be able to peel it off, so that you don't get those bumps from the epoxy dripping over the edge. Do the same thing on this side. Here we go. And if there's a big enough piece left from the end, I actually just put that on the middle. Because that's going to be enough to cover for the other piece. And then just going to put my fingers here on the corners as a guide and press it down. Make sure the edges are good and pressed. And then just kind of, depending on if you're right or left-handed, one of those sides is going to be easier than the other. Because this one is easier because it's going away from me. I just run my knife smoothly there. And then do the end. So that's going to go over, so just kind of slice it so it comes right up. There you go. And now if, what is on this? If any of the epoxy comes over the edge, when I go to take this off, I can just pull it up with the masking tape. And if it's really stuck, you know, you don't want to pull it away from the edges, what I can do is pull up the masking tape and then just take either my X-Acto knife, or I have a hot knife over here, and just kind of run it along the edge. That way it's not actually stuck to the back of the tile itself. all 6 tiles taped off on the back. So my next step is going to be to spray paint them. Just in case I use chunky glitters or ultra fines, I want there to be a good background so there's good coverage, even though we're going to be covering it mostly. So I'm going to do, one is going to be like monochromatic with blacks and whites and grays, so that one I'm going to keep white. And then I've got one that I'm going to do in fall colors, like coppers and golds and bronzes and browns. So that one I am using the Rust-Oleum metallic finish. I think this is copper. Bright coat copper. So that's for that one. And then I have one, my little list, I have one that I'm doing in red with the Rust-Oleum apple red. I have for the blue using the midnight blue. And then I have one that I'm doing in like corals and turquoise and white. So I'm just gonna use like a neutral pink peony, just so it's not quite so white in the background of that. And then I have one that is purples. So I'm going to be using the purple in the Rust-Oleum 2x Ultra Cover Paint Primer. So I'm going to go ahead and spray those, and then I will come back to you when they're all ready. Alright, so I've got all of my tiles, well, they've got glitter on them now, but they're all painted and dry. You'll notice some of them are not perfect. See right there? Also my hands are not perfect. They've got, you know, I wasn't super worried about that because we're covering most of them up. If it was on a cup, I would sand and repaint. But because these are tiles are going to be basically sitting on a desk, there's not a lot of wear and tear. There's not a lot of movement. There's not a lot of people touching them as a general rule. I'm good with having a couple of little nicks or whatever. So I'm going to move these to the side and mix up some epoxy. On these I use the Alumilite Clear Cast. I put them in the little FIFA bottles marked A and B, just because again it's not in a cup, so it's not something that's going to be in the sunlight, or it's not something that's going to be that needs the UV protection. It's not something that is going to be out in extreme heat, so it doesn't really need the heat resistance of the more expensive epoxies. So to keep my prices down on these, I usually sell these glitter ones for between $15 and $20 depending on what they want. I just use the Alumilite because it works just fine. It gives me a clear finish. There's not a lot of micro bubbles that I have to deal with, and I like it for this kind of project. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up my epoxy. Down a little bit of wax paper. I just put this craft paper down probably once a week, just to kind of protect my desktop because it was getting real raggedy and gross, and now it's covered in contact paper, but this craft paper is way easier to replace than contact paper, and the wax paper kind of it won't stick, the epoxy won't stick if it drips on it. So let's start. Okay. My 2 little cups, just little bathroom cups for it to stand on. Okay, so we're gonna start with the purple one. I'm gonna do it like this. And I'm just going to, let me show you the colors before we get into this. So for this one, these are for all of my employees. For customer service week, which may have passed by the time this video goes up. She loves purple, so, and all of my glitters today are Glitter Chimp just because that's what I have the most of. I really love their colors, and their customer service and their shipping is so fast and awesome. So I have Peacocking, which is it's like a blue and teal and silver kind of mix. It's really pretty. Jinx, which the sun is horrible, which is it's a color shift mixology from blue to purple. Maybe see if I do this, if that helps at all. Yeah, makes it worse. Cool. There we go. That's peacocking. That's Jinx. You can see that. It's a really pretty color shift. That's one of my favorites. And it's not in stock all the time. This is Grapely Admired. It's also, I love her mixologies. This one is like a purple holographic mixology. And we have Snallsberry, which is a holographic ultrafine. And Gorgeous, which is another mixology. It's light. This one's a light purple. I usually do between 4 and 6 colors, just depending on what I'm feeling in the moment. I think I have 6 for all of these. And then my all-time favorite, if you see this in stock, buy it, buy it, buy it. Buy the multiple bottles, Tears of My Enemies. It does not do justice on the camera, but it's so pretty. Oh, it's my favorite. Okay, so let me go ahead and put my, like, it literally takes just a tiny bit of epoxy. And I don't do the sides, guys. I just do the top. So I am, let me turn this light on. Maybe that'll help with the glare. So I just, with my finger, gloved finger, just kind of wipe it on there, make sure the whole top is covered and kind of even. And don't do the sides. I'm gonna wipe my glove off. So I don't get epoxy all over my glitters. And then I'm gonna go at an angle with each of the glitters. And I guess I'm just gonna move the cups off, I guess, when we're done with this. We'll see how it goes. This one is my favorite. Oh, it's so pretty. Just kind of tap it. Okay. You know, and I'm not gonna put it back in just because I use such a small amount of these. It's gonna be such a small amount will fall over. I'm just gonna put it in my dump cup that I have all together and make it easier for everyone. So that's Tears of My Enemies. This is Gorgeous. It is, but it's also the name of it. I don't even think I've used this one yet. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so, so pretty. And for these, I'm good if it gets on the others, so I don't really care if it falls over. So pretty. Let's do a little bit more. There we go. And then I'm going to do an ultra fine. Let's do Snallsberry. And then, let's see, let's do Peacocking. This one is has all kinds of like stars and hexagons and dots in it. It's so pretty. And hearts and everything. I just kind of pat it down as I go with the chunky glitter so you don't get a glitter shard. I've actually cut myself on a piece of glitter before I'm not proud of it, but it's happened. And then let's go Greatly Admired. And then, last but not least, is Jinx. Put my two favorites at the corners, I don't know why. So pretty. So there is the first one. It's like a little swirl, but on a tile. Alright, let's just make sure we're patted down and anything excess comes off. Perfect. Alright, I'm actually gonna make, I think, custom mixes out of all of these separate colors. So for this one, look at how pretty that is. Oh, purple custom mix, put it over there. All right, next, let's do the coral. Coral and turquoise is what she has requested for her colors. Because I'm a terrible secret keeper and have to tell at least one person what I'm doing. Like, it's literally just, like, I probably only needed 5 mils for all of these together, but I'll just throw it in a mold or something. Here we go. Okay. So for coral, Wanda's coral, we have Glitter Chimp Butterfly Mist. It's an opal mixology. It's got little, I don't know if you can see it, but it has little butterflies in it. Is that gonna focus? No? Okay. It's super pretty. Say that about all of them. Hello Tiffany's, which is a ultrafine holographic. I do try to have at least one ultrafine in each tile. Horizon, which is a teal, but it's got some brown, or not brown, some gold and silver in there. It's a mixology. Quite Coral, which is absolutely stunning. Cactus Blossom, which is another holographic ultrafine. And another one of my favorites. These, I guess you'd call them cheek glitters from Glitter Chimp are my favorites. So Tears of My Enemies, Rainbow Eucalyptus, which I don't think I'm using, but it's right here. Rainbow Eucalyptus. Like this one is called Golden Flamingo. And it's like a gold and pink mixology opal color shift type situation. It's so gorgeous, and I haven't used it yet, so here we go. First time, I'm going to start for about 4 to 5 hours. And then we'll come back and put the layer of epoxy on it. Move on to the next step. Okay, and we're back. Now, you'll see I only have 4 tiles in front of me ready to put some more epoxy on. So, let's talk spray paint. You'll notice that these are kind of dull. They're not quite as sparkly as they were. That's because I sprayed them with clear spray paint. Krylon Color Master Clear Matte Spray Paint. So, because you may or may not know that epoxy, chunky glitter loves to repel, and jumbo glitter loves to repel epoxy. So, I spray it with a clear coat to aid in it not doing so. Now, in my effort to do such a thing, I grabbed this, which, for all of those keeping track, is white. And this is the reason you should keep your caps on your spray paint, because this looks really similar. Let's see if I can find the 2 times clear. This looks an awful lot like this, except that it says clear in giant letters. So you'd think I'd pay attention, but I remembered buying a large can, this one's bigger, of clear, and I did, but I bought it in the Krylon, not in the Rust-Oleum. So I sprayed the red with white spray paint and had to re-glitter. So it's over here curing for a couple of hours. I'm gonna go ahead and do these. Same process for all 6. I'll probably just fast forward through this process so you don't have to, or speed it up so you don't have to watch me, you know, apply epoxy. There's some stubborn brown glitter. Do you see that? There's brown glitter right there on my black and white one. Unacceptable. You shall be removed. I don't even know how it got there. Okay. How rude. Okay. So, I've got my epoxy over here ready to be mixed. I haven't decided which way I'm gonna hold these. I've got them up on these little condiment cups, so it's not directly on the wax paper, so I can take my popsicle stick and scrape along the sides if it tries to drip on me. I also have my kitchen torch to pop the bubbles. So I think I'm ready. I'm gonna go ahead and mix. My epoxy. I think they're all my favorite, but I do love monochromatic things, so. Except for that piece of purple glitter right there. Oh, it's red. Purple? Red? I don't know. Some other color other than black and white and gray. Unacceptable for this tile. Pour some on there, and then what I usually do actually is take my popsicle stick and kind of encourage it to go to the sides. I gotta say, one of my favorite things is putting epoxy over sealed glitter, because you get to watch it come back to life. It's amazing. to excuse my dog. She feels like she needs attention 24 hours a day. Just making sure I get to all the corners. So when the time comes to do the micas, you don't want there to be like pits and hallways and valleys in your epoxy. I mean, you can still do it, it's just not, it makes it that much more challenging. Okay, give it a quick torch, get rid of the bubbles. Make sure you don't linger on with your torch, otherwise you'll scorch it and then there will be bubbles there for the rest of your life. Burnt epoxy looks like a crap ton of micro bubbles. Some of this is moving and I don't really mind that so much. Because we're going to be swirling micas on top of it anyways, and I don't really mind if it mixes a little bit. For this kind of thing, I don't care. I don't mind the glitter not being perfect. One piece of glitter that wants to remain upright right there. There we go. I think I got it. Okay. Just gonna go across these once. Make sure caught as many drips as I can. Okay. And then I'll wait a couple hours, do the red and blue ones that are over here to the side, and I'm going to cover these to make sure they don't, no gnats or anything lands. I don't know what's on. I don't want it to leave me any fish eyes. Yeah, I don't want any gnats or anything, so I'm gonna put a box over this so that they can cure in peace. And then we'll come back when I've got all 6 done. Alright, so we are back with tiles. They're all cured hard to the touch. This red one, I don't know if you can see with the light on it, it's pretty textured. I may put another coat of, because I had to double the glitter on this because I sprayed it white by accident. So I don't know if I'm just gonna try to put more epoxy over it and let that cure and then do the veining process. I'm not sure. But if I flip them over, you can see here where the masking tape has caught these little bubbles. Now, there's 2 things you can do. You can take it off now and retape it, or you can leave it on, and it'll just be a little more difficult to unmask. I prefer to leave them on. That way there's not a second line that you have to cut. So, but I'm really happy with how they, for the most part, they're pretty smooth. There's a couple bumps here and there, but that's not any big deal. So the next part is to mix up some epoxy and then put in the additives or mixatives and get started with the veining process. So I'll just go through what I'm going to use. For my white, I'm using Cast and Craft Opaque Pigment. I got it at Hobby Lobby. I don't remember how much it was. It's just an opaque white. Super concentrated, so you don't have to use a lot of that. I'm not sure what all I'm going to put where, but I have all of these ready. I've got Glitter Chimp Charcoal Mica Powder. It's a really rich, sparkly charcoal black kind of color. I have Glitter Chimp from the Diva collection. Gaga. It's a silver. It's not a mica. It's like one step above a mica. The cut is one step above a mica, but it works really well as a mixative. Then I have by Simply Sarah Custom Creations. I'm trying to make sure you can see it. There. It's Irish Moss. I was thinking about for this one. We'll see. And then these two I have are by Black Diamond micas. This is copper. They come in bags, so I just put them in these little pots. And mahogany. Those are going to be the main ones I use. So I'm just going to go ahead and, I feel like this is crooked for whatever reason. There we go. It's better. Get mixing. And then we'll go. Alright, so I'm going to start with the black one, black and white one. And you can see the dripped off epoxy does not stick to the wax paper, so I can move my little cups around. There we go. You don't need near as much epoxy for this step as we did for the previous one, because it's already pretty smooth. So let's just kind of, and plus you're going to put the colored epoxy on there, so you just kind of want a smooth surface. It's way too much. So that it has something to move on. Alright, we're good and smooth. There we go. So I'm going to start with the charcoal. I'm just going to drizzle it. There we go. I want a big right there. Okay, then a little bit of the silver. And this is just to give it a little bit of sparkle. It's not really gives it a little shimmer. There we go. Alright. That one. And then the white. Now you want to be really sparing with the white, otherwise you're going to take over the whole thing. Because this is really opaque. Sorry, I have football on in the background. Here we go. And then my final step is to take my heat gun and just kind of go in the direction you want it to go in. So I want mine to be diagonal, so I'm just going to kind of move it around until you like how it looks. Where it's happening over here. There we go. Alright, I think I'm happy with that. No bubbles. Go ahead and bring it up so you can see it. Really pretty. So I'm going to move this one over to the side and this one down. Same thing. Alright, so starting with mahogany. Copper. White. home in, I realized I forgot to put down a base layer of epoxy and had to use the clear as a drizzle. Alright, so we've got all 6 done. Just gonna fold that over so nothing drips onto my carpet. So we're just gonna let these dry, and I will come back with the decals. So to choose the fonts for my decals, what I like to use is the website wordmark.it, and I'll leave a link below in the description of the video. But what it allows you to do is enter a word or phrase or a name or whatever it is you're going to be cutting out in on your Cricut or your Silhouette. You just enter it in that box in the way that you're going to type it out. In this case, it was the names of my employees. And if you hit enter, what it does is it looks at all the fonts that are on your computer, and it shows you what those words would look like in that font. So I go through here and I just click on the ones that I like, and what that's going to do is allow me to filter out the fonts that I like and compare them so that I can pick one that I want. Now I have a lot of fonts. I have a little bit of a problem with fonts, and personally I don't get any of my fonts from defont.com just because I don't like to have fonts that I have a license to use commercially and the fonts that I don't have a license to use commercially in the same space. So I just tend to buy packages from Creative Fabrica or from Creative Market. That way I have the license and I own the rights to use it on things that I'm selling. So once you've picked your fonts and filter, then what I do is I go to Inkscape. And what this allows me to do is to take those words and I just type them out. In this case, I think it was already in the font that I wanted it to be in. But once you've typed your name using the text tool, hit Control A or Command A to select all, and then go up there and type your font. And then you're going to want to go to Objects, Ungroup. That ungroups the letters, and then to Path Union. What that is, it's like the weld tool in Design Space where you're making sure it's all one image that's going to be cut out, so you don't have those slices for the different letters, and Cricut Design Space won't recognize it as a font, it recognizes it as an image. So I did the same thing for each of the names. This is for Melissa. Those are the fonts that I used right there. I'll leave the listing of all of the fonts that I used for each tile, as well as the glitters that I used on each tile, in the description below, because I did kind of zoom through some of that. So once I've made sure that all of those are done, I save as an SVG that I can just upload right into Design Space. I put all my SVGs in the same place, that way I can find them easily. I'm new to the Mac, so I lose files quite often. So once I've saved it, I go and upload it to Design Space as an image, and you'll notice that I get an error here when I try to upload it, basically just saying that there's something that it doesn't recognize, and it's a font or a text, and that's because I clicked a couple of times without typing anything, and so it's recognizing those empty boxes. But all of the names that I typed are on that image, so I'm good to go. Otherwise, I would go back into Inkscape, and I would make any changes, save it again, and then try to upload it again. But we're good here. So once I've uploaded it, I just insert it from my images. There we go. And for these tiles, for this particular design, I like to make the decal for each name about 5.5 inches long, so it leaves about 1/4 of an inch on either side of the name. And depending on the font, I like to make them about 2 inches tall, because you don't want an awful lot of negative space where it feels like the decal is too small for what you're doing. So you'll see me, some of these fonts I do make the 2 inches tall, and there's a couple of them that I don't, because I don't like the way it distorts when you stretch it out. But for the most part, all of them are made 5.5 inches, and then I just make them 2 inches tall. As far as cutting out the vinyl, I think I used 2 different mats, because I had 2 different types of vinyl. So I did 3 of them I did with the Cricut aluminum matte vinyl, and the other ones I did with regular, just the standard vinyl cut. So I cut them on 2 different mats. I just kind of moved them to the different corners of the mat and cut them together, rather than make each one a different mat. That's too much work for me. I'm work smarter, not harder, so I just cut the right size of the vinyl and did it that way. So once you've got all of your stuff ready to go, you've got everything sized the way that you want it to be. I like to hide mine as soon as I'm done with it, just gets it out of the way. So once you got your, see that one I didn't like it when it went to 2 inches, so I made it a little bit smaller, like 1.25 inches-ish. So I go ahead and unhide all of them, and then go ahead and make it. And then again, I ended up moving them to different mats and doing a couple of different cuts. But that's how I did my decals, and I will be right back with you when we are ready to move to the next step of weeding. My least favorite thing to do of all time. Alright, so you may have noticed in the middle of me weeding those, I realized that I put these two in the wrong color. So had to recut and reweed these two. They'll just have extra stickers with their names on it. So that should be wide enough, yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna get some transfer tape ready. There we go. I'm gonna start with this one. First you gotta decide what you want to be the top and what you want to be the bottom. I think I'm gonna stay this way. And one thing I really love about this, this is the Cricut adhesive, matte adhesive foil, is that it doesn't really stick to the backing. I've had with Oracle vinyl, which I love Oracle vinyl in general, but when you go to peel it off the transfer tape, it has a tendency sometimes to stick. So that's less than ideal. This is the part that I hate. So I'll probably fast forward through this part. Here we go. Sometimes it does not love to stick to the transfer tape.